Yeah. So we're back. This is the Mind Design Podcast. Brian and I were just talking about the fires in Pacific Palisades, California. We were talking about this. I live in Ventura, California. So it's
Mm,
probably about a 40, like Malibu is about a 45-minute drive south
right.
from where I live. So I can look out there and I can see the north side of that mountain range, and that side didn't catch on fire, right? And you keep going south. Malibu's to the right over there, and the valley's to the left. But anyways, it's close enough that it's like, well, hopefully these winds don't blow any embers this way and start fires over here too.
Yeah.
But Brian, you were just saying that you were talking about the media before the fires even started, and
Well,
about some of the things that they were saying.
yeah, I think, I mean, and this is just the way I think. I don't know. Someone could think totally different, but 3 weeks prior to this fire, what's the media saying? Oh my God, if there's a fire, this is perfect conditions because the winds are howling like we've never seen, whether it be in the name of climate change or whatever it is. That's just California, right? But just to say that, right? So if you are an arsonist, which I'm not saying the fire was set, but I'm just saying if you were an arsonist and you hear now the seeds planted, right? Oh, but
Right.
who knows?
If you're an arsonist or a firebug who
Yeah.
watches the news, yeah,
Um and now all of a sudden, really, I didn't even think of that, and now you did, but not funny when this it's just totally devastating.
yeah. One of the things that I thought about is, so I used to smoke cigarettes, right? I smoked cigarettes for a very long time, and I stopped smoking cigarettes the year that I got sober in 2021. But for the 20 years or so that I did, and I am not uh, proud of this at all, but when I would smoke cigarettes while driving, I
Mm,
would just flick them out the window.
yeah.
And I'm thinking about that now as I've seen all these videos of like homes. I saw a video of like a McDonald's that was burning, that and it's like the wind is howling and all the plants are there, and you can just see all these embers just flying horizontally like across the screen, right?
Jesus. Yeah.
And you can tell like that's how that caught on fire, right? It's just the embers are traveling like miles and then landing on other stuff, and it's catching. It's like that's how it's
Yeah.
spreading. And I was thinking about, I got this flashback. I think that I'm bringing this up because like they haven't said what the cause of these fires are yet. Yeah, it could be somebody starting fires. It could be multiple people starting fires. But I think it's also very likely that it could be like somebody's cigarette butt, out the
Yeah.
window. A lot of people do that when they smoke. And I remember driving at night specifically and being on the freeway and just pushing it out the window. And I can see in my rear view, you can see the spot where the cigarette hits the ground and these embers like kind of disperse
Yeah.
and then disappear, because they go out.
Yeah.
And it looks just like the videos with the embers flying all over the place and everything on fire. And it's like, yeah, if there's an event like this and you're driving and you're like, oh, it's windy today, and you're not even thinking about it, and you're driving at night and you throw your cigarette butt out and that lands on some brush or one of those embers catches anything, like now I know why there's a
Yeah.
$1,000 fine for littering out of your
Sure.
car,
Makes sense,
in
right?
California.
You know, and from what I've heard, and I don't know, maybe you can help me out with this one too. Like I heard like 72,000 people had their insurances canceled prior to the fire. Well, the question
Yeah.
is, it's like how can you just cancel people like being an like how can you just cancel like, oh, you're canceled. Well, hold on, right? I've been paying you guys for decades. Why am I canceled all of a sudden? It's just kind of
Yeah.
it's it's pretty sad when you think about it. I remember I'll tell you a quick story about my dad. He was like 58 and he had a heart attack, had a major heart attack. And he got through it. And then his insurance company dropped him. And he said, "Wow, you just dropping me?" "Yeah, they're just dropping you." This is like a long time ago. It's like 30 years ago. And they dropped him. And he said, "Oh, I got another insurance company. I just need to make it a month being healthy, and my new insurance kicks in." Well, in that month, he had a heart attack. He lost like hundreds of thousands of dollars. And this reminds me, like, think about these people, these poor people. Like, oh, hey, we're just canceling your insurance. Don't worry about it. We're just going to cancel you. Well, what gives them the right just to cancel you? It's I don't know. I think if anything, like I know that's a big deal with healthcare, right? Oh, you just can't cancel anybody now. I think Obama got something passed. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. But
Yeah, I'm not sure all the details,
yeah,
but
it was something like they can't reject people from insurance or something like that. But
right,
here,
because everybody has to have it legally now, some form or another.
yeah,
I
and
mean,
here's
or you get taxed like crazy if you don't.
like people's biggest investment, really, the majority of America, it's their home, right? I mean, it is. So now your house is on fire and you don't have any insurance. Holy God, that would
Yeah.
just
One of the things that I saw about it was that, and I just saw this on social media. This was like somebody in an interview talking about this, and they were saying that I guess the area around the Palisades, that the brush, because there's supposed to be like brush removal and different things like that that's going on to prevent wildfires, that hadn't been done in like a really long time, and like the city was like allocating the funds to other things instead of doing that, and so maybe that's probably what the insurance companies were like. Well, we're not going to insure this place. You're not doing this stuff. But either way, I mean, I think it's really a lose lose situation. There's not really one person you could point the blame at and be like, because when I put myself in the shoes of the insurance company, I'm like, well, I understand if it's like they're trying to run a business and be profitable and be able to pay their employees and all that stuff and
yeah,
all the things that go along with the business. So it's not a nonprofit, you know? And
yeah,
so like at the end of the day, at the end of the year, like there has to be a bottom line there. It's like, yeah, we know that there's going to be policies that we have to pay out of for sure. But overall, out of all the insurance payments that we get, we should be able to pay those policies off, pay for all of our expenses, and have stuff left over, right? So the business can keep operating. And if they see that, hey, this area here is going to cause so much damage that we'll just go out of business and nobody will be insured,
yeah. I mean, yeah, there's definitely that too.
right? Because imagine if like State Farm or whatever insurance company didn't cancel their policies and then they have to pay out all this stuff. Yeah, these people's homes would be covered, right? But then the business shuts down because they have to pay all this stuff off. Then
Yeah,
everybody nationwide who has that insurance company now no longer has insurance and they have to go, but they would just go to another insurance company. But still, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I don't want to play the blame game.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
a overall just bad situation, you
yeah.
know?
It really is, and I know like a lot of the funding goes to like homeless people and it goes to, I don't know, maybe illegal immigrants or whatever. And we could sit here and blame everybody. We could say, hey, 192
The
billion went to Ukraine.
city,
Can we take
right?
some of that money to help? I don't know. I think anyone taking on the political roles right now is gotta be crazy anyway in itself. Can you imagine that?
To have that be the choice of like, this is what I'm going to do. Yeah, it's like that saying of like anybody who really wants to be president probably shouldn't, you
Yeah,
know. It should be somebody who's like, no guys, I'm good, I don't want to do this, I swear. They're like, that's why you have to. That's who it should be, at least in
yeah,
my
yeah.
eyes.
I know, right? Who talked me into this, right?
Yeah.
Sad, sad and true, but I pray for the people out there and the animals and, the loss of life and the families and the destruction. It's just, I hate seeing it. We just saw it in North Carolina. We saw it in Florida. It's just devastating.
Yeah, and so um, there's a bunch of like different relief funds, I think, um, I'll try to find some of them and link them below this video.
That's great,
I
man.
think I think they go to like different shelters and different places where people are being, getting like resources. People who've lost their homes or they've lost their place, and so I'll see if there's anything that I can find that will link over to that. So if you guys do see this and you want to help out in any way, shape, or form, you can just you can do it that way. But yeah, I've just been praying that like we have wins again today. They're gonna last until Wednesday.
Mm,
I'm like, I don't want to think this, but I'm like, we have the red flag alert here too, And so I'm like,
yeah,
all right, like nobody be out there doing crazy yard work or throwing cigarette butts out windows. I'm not worried about that fire coming over here, but there's
yeah,
been like multiple fires here too. They've just been contained and put out,
yeah,
and they've just been on it. Thank God. And the Ventura Fire Department and in the city here, they've just been on top of it, and they haven't been spreading.
yeah. All hands on deck. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But I think one of the positive things, like to kind of end this on a positive note that I've noticed is, yeah, a lot of people start playing the blame game and deciding who's at fault for a natural event that happens every year in California. This one just happened to be in a highly residential area, but every year there's fires in California just because of the conditions and the climate. But it's really seeing people coming together to try to help each other out
Yeah,
because we have a choice where we can like separate ourselves from everyone else and point the finger and say that this person's wrong and that I know what's best, or we could just be like, hey, this is what happened, and like try to do whatever we can to help the next person, that even if it's just providing support or like an ear. What's been really cool is a lot of people have reached out to me just to see how I'm doing, if I'm all right, that don't live in the area, that know me like personally,
yeah,
and seeing that kind of stuff is cool. That's people that I haven't talked to in years, you know
yeah,
and so what would be really cool, so we can continue to do that like as a human species,
yeah, yeah,
without a natural event. And I'm talking about for me too, not just for them, right? Because yeah,
yeah,
the phone works both ways.
yeah. Actually, if people could come together like that, I remember when 9/11 happened and the communities that were together at that time. It's really incredible.
Yeah, there was like a big sense of like we're in this together and we got this, like
Yeah,
everywhere after that. I was 17 when that happened, so I remember that. I wasn't young enough that I don't remember.
yeah. That's pretty young. That's
Well,
great.
man, when I go to class now, I was on break a couple months ago in one of my accounting classes, and I was talking to some guys outside that were in the class, and they asked me where I was during 9/11. As soon as they found out my age, I told them how old I was, and they're like, "What?" They're like, or they said, "How old were you in 9/11?" And I was like, "I was 17." And they were like, "Damn." And I was like, "What?" They're like, "Dude, I wasn't even born yet. I was born like 2 years later." And I was like, "Oh my God."
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I know. I have some youngsters that work for me, and you're like going over their application and what have you, their schooling that they're going to, and you're like, okay, date of birth, and they're like, 2005. You're like, what? It's like, oh my God. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah, this is just a short episode. We were talking about this stuff. We figured we'd record it and spread some positivity around something that everyone else is being, that is highly perceived as a like just negative event.
yeah,
I mean, because it is. It's not something that is like that people are stoked about, you know.
yeah,
But we can still be the change that we want to see in the world. And
yeah.
yeah,
Yep. Send prayers to them.
yeah. And I'll link some stuff down below, and we'll see you guys next week.
Be safe, Ron.
I will. You too. You're not out here, but be safe anyways.